Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Before we get going, just a couple things. I had a birthday recently, and my wonderful wife was kind enough to gift me a new desk. And because of my green screen, it's not obvious. I'm in a very different setup. So if things go horribly wrong, cut me a little slack. I had to redo some stuff. I've joked in the past about having part of my streaming setup held together by spare sprinkler parts. Good news, spare sprinkler parts are out. I actually got a little pole mount now for my camera, which is great. That works. Things now sit and lights and that kind of thing. So hopefully it seems okay. I think it's all working. I kind of threw it together last night. We're going to see how it goes. Also, I just updated to the latest Visual Studio because doing that a few minutes before starting seemed like a good idea, I guess. Let me lock that down. So tonight, or actually, back up, announcements. Material design in Xaml version 4.5.0. I just kicked it out the door last night. So that is now out and live. A couple of the big things that are in there, the two main bugs that were breaking people with the transparent context menus and the tab control missing its content, both of those are in and fixed. There are lots of other problems for people submitting issues on the tab control. Be aware, it is a new thing that has only recently been added to the library. So yes, I expect there to be some bugs and issues around it. Please log them. Happy to get them fixed, but it is something that is somewhat new being added into the library. So for what it's worth. Okay, so with that, some updates. So earlier today, and let me see if I can remember how to use a mouse. I'm going to drag some stuff onto the screen, and I press that button, and huzzah! Okay, so for people who are interested, the .NET Foundation, they actually stream a bunch of code reviews and similar things. And so this one ended up being two parts due to some technical difficulties. So those are the two parts, but this is a code review of some of the System.CommandLine APIs. So if you want to dive very deep into System.CommandLine, this is an interesting one, specifically around the set handler method. So there was a bunch of API discussions and proposals and trying to figure out what is the correct API. Right? This isn't about necessarily opinion-based, but what is the best API that's going to work well for the most people? That was largely the discussion. But as part of that, one guy on there, Tanner Gooding, Tanner, if I'm butchering your last name, I apologize. He has this library called ClangSharp. And I know very little of this. I have not used it much. I know that it is used as a p-invoke generator, which is great. But I personally have not used it. I've used other libraries that use it, but I have never personally made use of it. Effectively, it generates up what I would call bindings for managed code into unmanaged. But it is also leveraging an old version of System.CommandLine. And right at the end of that call earlier today, he made the comment that if somebody was interested in updating him to the latest version of System.CommandLine, he would happily be willing to take a look at the PR. So my goal tonight, let's make the PR. So should be fun. So just to be clear, I cloned this repository about 5 minutes before I hit update on Visual Studio. So I know very little about it. So just so to level set, I don't know much about this library at all. I just recently looked at it. I'll drop a link. If anybody is interested in, here is Clang. And then if anybody's interested in this System.CommandLine thing, you can find lots of videos on it on my YouTube. See below. If you're watching the recording of this, you probably already know where to find it. It's on the same channel. Okay. Unless you're watching on Twitch, where they don't keep my recordings very long. Okay, so here I managed to find my way into a couple things. So the first thing to note down here, this guy here is the one that actually has the package reference to System Command Line. I'm pretty confident he's the only one I saw, which makes this a pretty easy. So we are only interested in this guy. He is the ClangSharp pinvoke generator, not to be confused with the ClangSharp .pinvoke generator. Again, I have no idea what the difference is. Except for this one references System Command Line, the other one doesn't. So he's the guy we are after. You'll note here this isn't a normal package reference. I did notice he's got some fun MS Build stuff going on where he does a package reference update so that he can have centralized version management, which I think is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So let's go here. I'm actually kind of curious. I don't think the tooling handles this. Look at that, it does. Huh. I wonder if it's going to update appropriately when I click this button. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so NuGet.org and .NET libraries 3.22.114.1 versus the internal. How latest and greatest? Let's go with just on NuGet, because they're both beta 3, and I don't think there's likely huge APIs between the nightly and what's out on NuGet right now. I don't know that for a fact. There may be some bug fixes. I don't think there's going to be big API changes. Okay, so that gets us there. Oh, it did. Okay, so the tooling wasn't hip to figuring out where the version was supposed to go. Okay, it just slapped it on. It slapped it on that, and we really want it up here. So we're going to put this guy here. Okay? And we're going to build it. Because the other thing that I know is this project was very wonderful. I cloned it. I fired it up. It compiled. And then I hit run tests. And it just worked. And I went, oh, that was easy. So, okay. So this is kind of what we expect. Not nearly as many as I thought I was going to get, but let's take a look at the code that's failing. Okay, so he has rolled a custom help builder, which, not surprising that this one is causing problems because this has had some pretty significant API changes to it. And I'm kind of curious as to what all is he doing here? Yeah, so there is probably a bunch of cleanup what we can do to make this thing easier. I'm thinking the easiest thing at the moment is just this. Let's see. So render as columns is out. Actually, you know what? This whole method, we're just gonna drop stuff because I think most of this is probably not needed. And help builder. Yeah, because help builder no longer takes in the console to do the writing. Instead, it kicks back a string if I remember correctly. Trying to remember the exact API changes in here. Right. Yeah, so this is the method to override, and if I remember right, this guy here. Oh, text writer output, so it just dumps stuff out. Okay. So that's the key one to do. So let's start there. So override help context. This is gonna be where we want to actually do all of our work. Use block body. We're gonna turn you off, and we're gonna turn you off. We're gonna need to come back and look at these, but we're just gonna look at getting it working first, and then the constructor under the hood. Max width and localization resources. So I don't think there's much we need to do here, because it looks like he was just forwarding on the same bits. Okay, let's go there. Chase the rest of them. Help item. Okay, so let's see. So this here, I suspect, is all around generating. Yeah, so this was using the old help item class for building out all of that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to just take the stance of, we'll circle back to this after we get it compiling and clean it up. Okay. Handler is going to be that guy there. And then this value for option bit is what is going away. Well, the good news is everything is in one place. Okay, so let's spend a few minutes and figure out what the heck all is going on in here. Interesting that version's hard-coded. Oh, I guess this is root commands description. So this is maybe the CLI version, which isn't being pulled from somewhere else. Okay. Get on board with that. Wow, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so lots of string stuff. Okay, so big switch, setting up options based upon which options are specified. A lot of these things look to just be in C#, this is a bitwise OR. So I'm going to go with this thing as probably a flag denew, which it is. And when you do that bitwise OR, these are all basically individual switches you can turn on and off. So based upon anything on that thing that gets passed, it's just going to toggle a bunch of switches on or off, which is great. Looks like there's maybe a couple different options, and based upon how things are going, this thing gens up a whole bunch of different ways. Great. Okay, this is the custom help builder. So this is building that up. Okay, and this is where those right lines were going. I think these things are likely just going to get pushed. Option versus options. Got it. Okay. And then let's see, what is this? If there are, so that's if there is print config help, great, and then it early returns. Otherwise, if there are any errors, we're going to write out some stuff. So this is an invocation context. Okay. We've got the invocation context there. We're going to write some errors to the console. And then this, we do a new help builder and dump help out. Okay. I think this change is easy because I think that's just that. That much is pretty simple, and then we get all the way down further. So there's a couple ways, I guess, to go about doing this. So this is very much acting on the parsing stuff by themselves. So one of the key changes here is going to be context parse result, because you can still get in here. And you can do value for option, which you'll note exists. And so we can still do this kind of string thingy. The thing is rather than this just magical string of additional, what we're going to end up needing is something like option, because I can kind of guess the types on my way through here. Gonna look something like that, and then this is gonna look something like that. And then this is gonna go here and look something about like that. So rather than string-based approach, it requires you to actually pass in the object. One of the things that came up on the, I'll call it code review stream earlier, is there was a lot of discussion about how these options and commands work, and specifically getting values back out. One thing that may not always be apparent to people if you're acting on the low-level APIs like this is that these options, they don't actually contain the value themselves. The analogy that I used earlier is if you think of these similar to like the reflection APIs in .NET, where you have, say, a property info. The property info object itself doesn't contain the value of a given property. It merely contains the description of what that property is and how to get the value out given an instance. The parse result is the actual, you can almost think of it as the instance. So if this is like your property info, this get value for option is like using the property info to pull it back out for what it's worth. So my way of just conceptually visualizing how the system command line APIs work is treat these like an info object, and the parse result almost more like the instance, because when your command line is invoked, that parse result is effectively the instance of that invocation. And then you can use the metadata ones to get it out. Now, the question I have, so this is just being passed into here. So I think what we want to do is structure this guy up a little bit differently. We're gonna collapse you. So there is this root command, which is being set up, and these options here. Now we are probably going to want to type these. I'm trying to look at what this is doing. So this is creating an option. Let's see here. Argument type. It's interesting that this is argument type of string, and then an arity of one or more. This really should be string array. So we're going to get, so you'll note once I switch to the generic, this thing is going to change. Get default value, and then arity doesn't get specified here anymore. I think you have to do arity as of the property setter, if I remember right. Here, stop it. Let's see. Is this an argument arity? Yeah, so this is just going to move down here. That goes away. Is there a formatting thing or something on that I'm missing? Okay, so this is adding it in. I'm trying to decide if this is really the easiest way to go about doing this, because ultimately we are going to need access to this option here. And I'm wondering if it actually makes more sense to just push these things up here. So this thing main creates the root command, adds a bunch of options to it, and then calls invoke. And we could use the binder to pass all of this stuff through so that we don't have to do this mess. Trying to decide, because that's, I don't know how many options, but we'll say a lot. That's a lot. Let me go and look real quick. I'm curious if there is, that's not, docs. I'm curious. Model binding. I'm thinking what we probably want to do is bind. And these docs don't appear to be fully updated either, which is killing me. Close, Robert. If by WPF you mean ClangSharp and pinvoke, you would be correct. So there was a code review for the system command line before, and one of the guys in there, Tanner, made a comment that he would love it if somebody would update ClangSharp to the latest system command line, because he built it on an older version of the API. So I am looking at trying to figure out what is the cleanest way to go ahead and do this. Okay, we're just gonna... Docs are not helping me. I have a strong urge to curse all things pinvoke. No. This library underpins a lot of the ones. So if you've seen the wrapper libraries that wrap native libs, a lot of them will leverage ClangSharp. So this is the generator that a lot of the other libraries end up using, so that you don't have to hate it. But I'm trying to figure out, because this command line here basically is a very flat structure. It's got one command, a metric ton of options on it, and then down here it wants to parse all of these things and go to town. So I'd like to find a cleaner approach here. So what I want to look at, because I don't remember the binding one. I think, because I'd prefer to not bind them flat. That will get ugly fast. I'd much prefer to, and I'm trying to remember what the rules are around model binding. Set handler, class with multiple constructor. Like, that would work-ish. It would hide the ugliness in one place. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if there's a cleaner... Custom type, custom instance, custom binder. Get bound value. This might be the cleanest option. This might be the cleanest option given the complexity here, because part of what is going on in this code is all around. So when this thing actually gets invoked, it does all of this building up of stuff and a bunch of bitwise math. And I kind of feel like we don't want that. I don't think I want all of that. And I also don't know if I like the root command invoke async. I kind of want to lever it, because there's a couple things in here that are being added on. And so one, there's some custom help stuff that's being done, and the custom help output is fine. But the checking for help is something that surprised me, or like the checking for version. Like, what is this? Why is version so special? There's built-in support for checking for version, and yeah, I don't know why we might. Okay, so I'm going to do one thing real quick. Where's my Git Kraken? Come here, Git Kraken. I need you. Blah blah blah. I don't see it. Dev. System command line. Oh, it's going to be under C because it's command line API. This one. Let me go take a little look-see here. Whoop, whoop. I want to be on main. Reset local. Thank you. Open. And I want to take a little bit of a look at this. Also a bug on here I need to go and fix. I want to look at what the version one does, because I don't think we need to be this complex, because this is not doing that much. It's spinting out a little bit of version options. I think we can get away with something a lot simpler. Close you. I think we can get away with something simpler. And Tanner, I apologize if you're watching this, if I'm overcomplicating things. Okay, so let's take a look at version. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so what this method's the one I want to see. So the tests are good, but this is the method I really am interested in looking at. Come on. Don't help me. Get out of the way. Okay, so version option, this one builds it up, adds in middleware. I guess there's not a lot you can leverage if, I guess you do kind of have to roll your own. That's a little disappointing. It's a little disappointing there's not a cleaner way to do output as something a little bit different, because this is, yeah, this isn't much. Okay. So we're gonna go through this, but I think ultimately what we want to do is we want to get ourselves into something like this. I think we want to start here. So let's go back here. So we've got all these add options, all these options. Okay. So at the end of the day, we want to get ourselves down to something that looks a little bit more akin to a parser. Give me the builder. Come on. Using command line. We're going to do this. And I think I can just feed in root command. The top. Parser invoke async args. Turn. Oh, wait. And that. And I think that's where, so that's what we want to get to, is that working. This guy here, we're going to end up getting rid of this. This is going to become s root command set handler. And this is just going to be an invocation of run. And then we are going to need to pass in a binding. And I think this is where we're going to dive back into the something a bit more like this. I think we do a custom binding. Is that really the simplest option? Either that or a bunch of flat stuff. I don't like that either. That's as yucky to me. That's as yucky to me. So, blah, 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 blah. Generic method definition. Ignore the pile of generic stuff. Yeah, I think let's go with a custom binder, because then we can do our own binding on here and do our own building. So we're just going to steal this. And for now, we're going to put it up here. We'll come back to it in a minute. And we are going to go with I think this is where we're going to put all the stuffs. I think this is where we're going to put it all. We're just going to stuff it in here. Is this really easier than just doing a constructor? Because we could be stupid simple and just do a constructor. It's going to be an ugly constructor because it's going to look like that, but grumble, 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 grumble. I don't know what I like better. Let's start with a constructor. Let's keep it simple. Actually, you know what? Let's start even simpler. Let's not even do a type. Let's go flat binding for now. Because what this is under the hood here is something that looks a heck of a lot like this. So that's going to go like that. And then what we want to do is we want to change this add to be something that actually returns it, because we're going to want this instance. And I think what we're going to do, we're going to drop the idea that we need to pass in the root command. And this guy's just going to be a straight return. Get has a weird connotation to it. Create. I don't know. We'll leave it as add for now. It's a very misleading name, but we're going to roll with it. Okay, so up at the top, what we can actually get away with now is something like, let's see, option of string array, additional, add additional option, and then this becomes additional, and then this becomes additional. What is your problem? Use var instead of additional type. There must be a editor config. Let's see. The type arguments for cannot be inferred. Really, this is about to get ugly fast if I have to specify all of these. If I remember correctly, set handler. Yeah, because we're going to run into a problem here at 16 parameters. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Back to custom type. We're going to go like that. So additional there, and then this handler, nope. This run method should take in a so how do we get this working for the moment so we can get this thing compiling and running? So I think what we're going to do is something fancy. So match. We're going to turn on regular expression matching. Escape that. Escape that. Let's see, escape that. Escape that. Where is the other ones? Let's see. I'm going to do this. Paren. Plus, there we go. Okay, so that's going to get us all of those. And we are going to replace it with, let's see, $0 commented out on the end of the line. And we will replace it with default of $1, I think. Place all. I love it when a regex comes together. Okay, regex coding for the win. Okay, so custom help builder wants localized resources, so this becomes easy. That is on the localized resources, that list there. We're going to just comment out these lines here. So right now we're going for compilation. Custom help builder, this is once again localized resources with some writing there. And then this is something like that. And then our last compiler is up here. It goes like that. Okay, so set handler. Location context and my custom type. Has the wrong return type. Oh, this thing is expected to be task. Oh, these are void. Right, so run needs to become void. I believe that means down here. Let's see, context. Exit code gets -1. And then just straight return. And just copy this guy around. I have a feeling that's exactly what we're going to be doing in most of these situations. Boom. Not sure why that's squawking all of a sudden. Expression value is never used. Here, we'll make it easy. There. It's exit code. And then we don't need a return. Okay, so that goes like that. I think. Okay, build. Okay. So that goes there. I wonder, are there any... There's a lot of tests. Hypothetically, let's find out if there's any tests over this. Because given that we just commented out a swath of code, if there are any tests over that main method, I'm very confident we will be running into them. But it would not be uncommon for tests to be at a slightly lower level. We will see. There are a sizable number of tests, so 3,400 tests, 3,500 almost. It's nothing to scoff at. It's a pretty significant test suite. We'll let that guy run. Kind of want to look at, let's see. So on the tests, just want to make sure there's nothing in here that I'm forgetting about that I should be doing. Because a very few of these actually show doesn't work. That's not a great one. This is the one I was somewhat looking at. Because System command line is pretty good if it can figure out how to convert to the target type. Type convention tests. Yeah, because you'll note like file info it can figure out from strings, directory info. Yeah. Go back. Okay, so no tests over this. That's a little scarier. Okay, so we are going to have to test this ourselves. So we're going to do something like that. I'm guessing we don't have nullable reference types turned on. No. Okay, that's fine. No nullable reference types. We can work with this. So what I would like to do is test the invocation of this guy and confirm what I think I know. So let's do that first. So give me a terminal. Let's see. CD, where is this? Sources. Pinvoke generator, we're the non one. So .NET run. And then I think I want to just do... Actually, there was a description of this on the README. Let's take a quick gander over there. Because the nice part is there was... Yeah, so it had this little guy. So I should be able to do -A and then string. And see that come through. So... Oh, that's actually not going to hit my debugger now, is it? That is not going to hit my debugger. So let's set this guy up with a debug setting. All right, so if we go here, we go properties, and we want debugging, open debug launch profiles. Oh, look at this. I don't think any of these are what I want. Create a new profile. Project. Command line arguments. So this is where we're going to do -a foo. Yeah, so you're gonna be problematic. So just go there. Remote machine name, environment variables. Save that for the moment. Yeah, so this is a bunch of response files. Oh, cool. So he's actually got... Oh, that's cool. Sweet. That's rather clever. We're going to start simple. Okay, so we're going to take this guy here. And I would like to execute this profile. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, because I'm not on the right project. Set a startup. And then there's my profile. Now when I go and fire it off, I should be able to hit... I guess I should have probably set a breakpoint if I want to do anything. Okay. For the parameter at position 0, did you mean to pass one of these? So this guy here. See, we can kind of cheat a little bit and just drop this all together. Because that shouldn't be needed. So if I drop you, I might need to go and look at what that setup was. It's not clear. Here's the debug window, but we're stupid arrow shake. Stupid arrow shake. Okay, so there's our invocation context. Should have some stuff on it. There's our parse result. I can see that it ended up parsing a bunch of stuff. Rate. Part of me is really tempted to just skip the binding and go back to the parse context for all of these, because that would still work for this. Just feels so yucky. Feels yucky. Feels yucky. Let's look. I just want to look before I do something crazy like custom model binding. I don't think there are vocation context. Yeah, I guess we go with flat for the moment. All right, so let's go with and those are going to drop. And then if we rerun this, we should see additional args get populated with foo. One in there and it's foo. Okay, so that probably works, I guess. I don't feel good about it, but it works. I don't feel great about this. Okay, we're gonna do some regex magic real quick, but we're gonna get it work. So general rule of thumb: get it working, get it right, get it fast. This will be the get it working part of the adventure. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do. So let's see, start of line match. Oh, regex on. Match white space, multiple characters. Replace with empty string. Boom. Okay. Then we're going to start with matching / any character, multiple repetitions to the end of the line. Replace with empty string. Boom. Okay. So what we would like to do is get we're going to do all these in one shot. We would like to get variable name and type. So what we want to match on is a couple things. So we're going to have var space paren some characters. So how about not white space, any number of repetitions. Is it that non-white space, any number of repetitions, space equals default literal paren any character, some number of repetitions, and then /paren. Oh, I need one more opening paren here. Okay, so that has given me, so these two parens here are just for the capture groups, and then we'll just grab the semicolon for good measure. Okay, and so then what we want to replace this with is the variable name, which is going to be our first capture group. So $1, or I'm sorry, we actually want the type first. So $2 for our second capture group here, space variable name, $1. We want a comma, and then I want a new line. Make it so. I didn't quite do what I wanted, so we'll undo that real quick. Do that. Replace. And I guess I don't actually need the new line since each of these are on their own new line, so we really can get away with just this. Great. Copy. And now we have the rest of that, which is great. Get rid of the closing comma, and you won't indent correctly for me, so that's fine. We're going to come up here. We'll do that. Okay, so that gave me all of these. So pretty much all of this can go away, because those are now going to be passed in. Okay, now we got to get all of these things converted. So let's do the same thing. We're going to copy this, come over here and do some more regexy magic. So we'll start with the whole, let's see, start of line, white space, some number of repetitions, place with nothing, boom. Okay, so that fixes that. Now we want to match add some character, because this is going to be the name of the thingy-mabobber. We're going to then have option. And I think we can just blindly match to the end. Because what we really want to do is gen up. Wrong solution. What we really want to do is gen up this pattern here. So I'd really like to do var name method without this. So that's my target. Let's just grab this. And back to VS Code. We're going to do this. So this is going to be var, and then it'll be $1, albeit it would be better with lowercase. And then this will be $1. That gets me pretty close. Yeah, that'll work. We'll fix the casing on each of these here in a minute. But that will go here. Be a lesson in regex coding. Okay, so C, D, E, F, F, H, I, L, L, M, N, O, O, P, R, S, T, T, V. And a whole bunch of W's. This is... What is your complaint? Cannot... Okay, so all of these things are void returning. So if sconfig option is null, is this likely to be called in two places? No. I don't know why we have this check here. So this is going to become option of string array. That goes away. This becomes just a straight return. This becomes option of string array. And I think we can just confirm that by the generated type on this side. Yeah, string array. So I'm going to just put you on the side for a minute. This is where I can keep an eye on you. Argument type is going to go away. And default value. Oh, and arity needs to change to be arity. So people who may not be familiar with the term arity, it just means the count or the number of them. How many can be there? Okay, so we have this. Oh, and you are squawking because you are not typed to string array, but now you are. Okay, so that should be happier now. Oh, and I did not drop this. So let's hunt for add option paren. Oh, we need this to be a literal paren. Root command space any number of characters literal closing paren, and replace with let's see, $1 paren. See, isn't that easier than writing code? Super easy. Find macro. So this is also a option of string array. Let's see. Can't type. Argument type goes away, and I'm pretty sure default value can probably go away. We'll check it. Arity gets argument arity 1 or more. It goes away. That goes away. This becomes a straight return. Actually, most of these things are option of string array, so we'll just do that. That should clean that up. Exclude option. Exclude name. Exclude names. So we're gonna do that. Do that. Arity gets okay. Next up, let's see. File option is going to be the same thing. Going to be the same thing. Going to be a return. And actually, you know what? I think we can probably, let's just do this. So let's hunt for argument type colon space. Actually, we don't need the space. Any number of characters to the end of the line. Just grab the comma and then end of line. Replace with empty. Let's see. Let's actually do this rather than matching on that. Any number of characters after the comma, and then grab the new line character. Close enough. We will deal with it as it comes. Let's see, where were we at? File option. So that guy there. Arity gets argument arity 1 or more. Get rid of that. Semicolon, and that goes away. Let's see, file directory. This becomes actually option of string. and I'm trying to remember what the default arity is for string. If we look, this is creating an argument of t, and one of these guys has the default arity rules. I don't remember what exactly they are. One of you has the... Where's the default arity set? Where is the default arity set on this guy? Okay, let's just go system command line. Nope. I want that. Arity. Default arity. It's down in here somewhere. Validate, default. There we are. If it's not string and enumerable, which array is, parent is command. So if it's a parent, so in our case, our parent for this argument will be an option. So we would hit one or more for most of our other ones. So if we look at, close this, one or more. So this is going to end up being the default. That's fine. That's fine. So we will get one or more there. But then what is the for string? So this is explicitly not string. If parent is command. We aren't going to hit this, so we're going to be exactly 1. So exactly 1, does that line up with what we were expecting here for string? Yeah. That arity is the default as well. We'll just get rid of that. We'll get rid of this. Get default value. And then this should be option of string. That goes like that, that goes like that, that goes like that. So we can actually clean up these ones here real quick. These one or more all match the default. Okay, carry down our merry way. Header, this is option of string. Let's just slap that guy on there. Exactly 1 matches the default. And this just becomes a return. Cleans that up. Include option, this is string array. And this becomes a return. Arity of 1 or more is fine. Okay, include directory option. Interesting, this is also string array. The variable name is include directories. I wonder if that's a typo. Maybe it's named this way intentionally because it's the use directory option that can be specified multiple times. see here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So in case it's not obvious, this get default value is actually a func. So array.empty is being used as a method group. So functionally, you could also think of it like this. Just that we can omit all of that and do it as a method group and pass it all the way through. Let's see, language is option of string. Exactly one is the default. And that there, there, return. Whoop. Jumped a little too far down. Let's see, add library option, that's also string. Actually, let's copy this because the next several are all option of string. I have a feeling we're going to be doing the exact same thing a few times over. Boom. It's like that. That goes like that. Method class name option is string. So boom, boom. Wait, did that thing just... Wait. Did it just do the right thing out of... IntelliCode, I'm about to be very, very impressed if you did the right thing. You formatted it really, unfortunately. Okay, color me impressed. Color me impressed. Why, yes, IntelliCode. I'm a little scared to click this now. I am very impressed, IntelliCode. I realize what I'm doing is highly patternizery, which is clearly a word, but that is still just straight up impressive. This one it didn't match because the get default value is a little different. That's okay. I'll teach you IntelliCode. Don't worry. I'll show you what I want. Oh, this is obviously the wrong type because that should be like that. Let's see, and then remapped. Oh, interesting. A couple of these are out of order. Let's see. LMN output location comes before output mode. Oh, interesting. Okay. I see what happened here. It's a little weird, but option a string, please. Option a string, please. Okay, that maps in. Done. Okay, IntelliCode, would you like to just write it for me? I'm ridiculously impressed. Method prefix to strip. Sorry, this is a string. The fact that IntelliCode knew that was a little unnerving. Apply suggestion. IntelliCode, I am impressed with you tonight. You have done very well. If you would remember the formatting and not mess it up, that would be even better. But you know what? We'll take what I can get. This is option of string array. Let's see, this is option of string. And return is spelled like that, for those who are wondering. No, I cannot spell. Let's see, test output location is also a string, so naturally IntelliCode wants to write the code for me. I am very impressed with you, IntelliCode. You are showing off a lot tonight. Just wish it wouldn't mess up my formatting. Okay, and then this is another one of these. It's checking add version option. But mine is going to replace the other one, so I don't think it's going to matter. We're going to get rid of that. And in this case, version argument arity 0. I think we do this. It's kind of a little weird the way it's going to want to set up, because this is a it's treated like a flag, and you need to be, but the way System command line will handle it is, if specified, it will end up getting a value of true. Bool's kind of a special case because it gets used as flags in... Why are you squawking? Best overload for option does not have a parameter named aliases. Am I stupid? But yes, it does. Oh, it's because of this guy down here. It was a confusing error, Visual Studio. Okay. Okay, so add version option, traverse option. Traversal names is going to be option of string array. Let's see. One or more is default. Clean that up. Okay. With access specified option. I think all of the remaining ones are all going to be option of string. So IntelliCode, do your thing. We're going for it. Boom. IntelliCode, you are utterly amazing at times. Utterly amazing. Actually, I think we can probably regex this one now. Literal paren colon. So match on that. Replace with paren backslash new line alias. Wow. Basically, I just want to insert a new line character in the middle of this. Boom. So replace 1. And then how much indentation do we want? All right. Yes. I want that many white space characters. It's all. And then if I find description, I would like to replace that with so at the end of here, new line, same number of white space lines, then description. And replace all. And then the last one, if I find this guy here, I would like to replace that with that. There. That's a little cleaner. Okay, now we just have all of these guys, which I think are now all meaningless. So we go, boom, get rid of all those. Okay, so now all I need is all of these types to be added here along with these names. Now, conveniently, I have such a list here of the types and the names. So what I really want is a set of types first. So match on, let's see, find all characters that are not white space, more than one repetition. I guess that's word characters. Let's see, white space is S, and then space, or I guess single space. So actually what I kind of want to do is this instead. I'm going to want to just use the groups anyway for my... Oh, actually, I think I want I'm going to do it like that. Okay. That's what we want to grab. So the first thing we want is just $1 with a comma on the end, I think. Place. Copy. And then that goes like that. We come back here and we go undo. And then the next thing I want is $2 with a comma on the end of that. Place. That's not what we want. Technically, I guess just $2 because it's going to have a comma on the end. So let's just do that. And then that becomes like that. Okay. Oh, and this is where we were going to run into problems of why I could... Oh, this is why I couldn't just do a flat list, because I was going to run out of generic parameters. Well, doesn't that just bite? Doesn't that just bite? So I guess that is the question of what is the easiest way to do the binding. Because if you've got a large number of thingies, how do I want to get those in? I guess the question is, so we could cache them all just the same way we do the other ones and keep the logic fairly similar. That might be the easiest option. Given all of those, I want to try something. I don't remember the magical incantation that does this. I can't recall if this will figure it out or not. Let's see. So I want to see what that does. If it will figure out that binding based upon the parameter. I think it will. Don't recall though. Files. Oh, so I need to turn this back on for it to work. Where are you? Where are you? Are you in our option for parameter? Position 0. Did you mean to pass one of these? No, I meant to omit it and hope for you to figure it out. So, in order for this to work, we're going to have to go the... I hate doing the custom binder, but I feel like that's going to be the only option for doing this. It's probably a good idea. It's probably a good idea. I just don't like it. Okay, fine. We're going to need to name this thing different here at some point, but my custom type just doesn't really scream useful at the moment. So this will become string additional option. I don't know what the naming scheme is in this library, so we're just going with that for the moment. And then we're going to whack this constructor and have you gen me a constructor, pretty please. And then this is custom type, and I think we're just going to end up doing this, and it will be binding context, parse result, get value for option, and it will be additional option. Boom, 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 boom. This all goes away. No one cares. No one cares. Boom. And that means down here, this becomes a new custom binder. And this takes in additional. Let's try it. Let's try it. I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not thrilled with it. It feels like a lot of extra work. Custom type. Look at that. There's a string. It contains the one value. Huzzah. Okay, well. Ugh. I'd much prefer to do flat binding. Or the other option is we don't do any of this garbage and we just do it inside of here. This might even be easier. Because if we had this guy elevated up to, for example, private static option of string array, let's see, s underscore additional option. If we did something like this, where this guy, the same instance got assigned into here, right? And then down in here, we just drop all of this. That goes away. This comes down here. This becomes invocation context. And then this guy here, I'm going to comment this. And then this guy becomes something more like S underscore additional option. And that's not a bad way of doing it. Wait. Get value for option, not value for option. Because then what we can do is if we run this again, this might be easier. All this back and forth, and I may just throw it away. Oh well, live and learn. This might be easier. Because then we don't have to deal with all of this stuff. We just really have to create ourselves a bunch of these, which we can kind of do already. Undo. So we've got our types and names already. So let's see. So this is going to be, we wanted to declare the declarations. This will end up being private static option of, let's see, the type, which is 1, and then the value will be S underscore $2 semicolon. Write me some code. So boom, there's all those. Oh, hang on, that picked up some commas. I would like to drop those commas. Hi, could you show some simple examples of how to use the library? Sure, I would be happy to. By library, I'm assuming you're talking about System.CommandLine rather than ClangSharp, because I honestly don't know of them. There was one I was actually just working on last night. I don't know if I would say it's the pristine example, but it was one I just updated. So for the material design library, I wrote a little bit of automation to make my life easier. So System.CommandLine is aiming to be, so it's worth noting there's a couple levels to this. So System.CommandLine by itself is aiming to be sort of that base level API that makes working with command lines much easier. You get a bunch of stuff out of the box, highly performant, it's trimmable, all the latest C# stuff. It's good. So this is going to be showing off the base level API. And here, link there. So this is using the lower level of the API, and it's worth calling out one piece of documentation. Let's see if I jump back here, docs, syntax concepts. Actually, you know what? Why am I doing this? I just wrote a blog on it. Boom. Here. I wrote a small getting started guide for, yes. So the things to note is this is going to be calling out the base level API at the very beginning of how to build it out. So the things to note here is for a command line, you want to avoid having to parse this string args yourself, because there's so many different ways that a caller could say just invert the order of arguments that you then have to try to deal with. It is a major pain. There's a lot of subtlety there, especially if you want to have something that really works nicely. So the first step is to lay out what is often referred to as like the grammar of your CLI, your command line. In my case, I have multiple commands, and each of these commands has different things that are on it. So you'll note this command here is diff icons. So when I run this, what I actually type is GitHub helper space diff space icons, And then icons takes a couple things, 2 versions. And then what this ends up doing is generating me, I'll just show you the output. In the wiki for material design, pack icon changes. So all of these guys in here, this output is coming from this tool. Just so, because I didn't want to deal with trying to figure out what icons changed from version to version, I have a little tool that just downloads both of the versions, does the diff, and then gens it out for me, because I'm way too lazy to figure all that out myself. But from a command line syntax, what that ends up doing, back to here. What that ends up looking like is a couple commands for that nested command syntax. And if you're familiar with the .NET SDK, you'll note like .NET is the root command and run is a subcommand of .NET. And there's like .NET build, which would be another example as well. The little things that come after it, the things that people will call switches or flags, these are referred to as options. And an option may have an argument. And as the name implies, options are optional. So you don't necessarily require them per se, though you could add validation that makes them required if that is desirable. So you set up your commands. The commands typically take in either an argument themselves or some set of options. You can just add to them with the same way like you would build up a list with the object initializer syntax. You can do the same thing here, which works great. And then this set handler, you'll note the one thing that's a little weird about this is even though my command takes in 2 options that are strings, my handler actually takes in a third parameter, which is this iConsole. There's a small set of well-known types built into the library. This is not dependency injection. It's basically a dictionary lookup. It's just a small set of things. But if we look at the diff icons method, you'll note it takes in this iConsole and 2 strings. And the nice part is I don't have to think about somebody invoking my command line argument and figuring out how to get down to here. Because I built up my grammar for my command line, if I jump up here, when I call invoke async, system commit, because I do invoke async and I pass in telling it, hey, here are the commands that I know how to handle. And so when somebody calls it on the command line, it figures out, oh, did they call something correctly? If they did, okay, let's invoke its handler. If they didn't, let's give them a nice error, show them help. There's like typo correction. So if you get close to being correct, but you miss it by a couple of characters, you might have seen this like with the Azure CLI, where it'll say, hey, did you actually mean to type X? It's like, oh, yes, that's exactly what I meant. Thank you. It's got this use default tacks on a whole bunch of useful stuff like that just out of the gate. It can also do the auto completion for tab, like you might see, but that is an opt-in feature. I'll show you. There is actually on my blog, I think I called it out. Let's see. Tab completion, yes. There is a small bit that you have to do to actually enable tab completion depending on what shell you're in. So there is a little shim script that you have to add to your profile. But then once you do that, all apps built with System.CommandLine magically get tab completion. So this is an opt-in once on your shell, but then all apps that use this library will all get that for free, which is pretty cool. And then you just call invoke async. Now this is pretty good-ish. But there is, I don't know, what is that? Line 21 through, I don't know, all the way to 73. That's like 50 lines of boilerplate code. We can do better. We can do better. So, but again, this is the base level API that aims to be functional and usable and good. But everybody has opinions about what would make a good API and how to make this better, right? People have built all kinds of CLI libraries that make things better for this, and System command line would refer to those as like the flavor of the day or flavors. So the idea is that people should be able to build on top of this API to add in whatever opinions that they want, right? Some people like declaring a POCO with some attributes. Some people like a more fluent syntax. People will write all kinds of extension methods and whatnot. Great. Make whatever flavor you want, build it on top of this. The base library should give you all of that power and functionality and let you build your flavors and get out of your way. That way, people who want to take a stronger opinion on how things should be done can do so, and then people can pick which of those flavors that they like. One flavor that is in the box, well, in the box, it's a separate NuGet package. But one flavor that the System command line library produced, just as a way of showing it, is something like this. So you add the System command line .dragonfruit NuGet package, and then you, rather than having your main method be string array args, you just type in the types that you want, and you're done, which is pretty slick. So then what Dragonfruit ends up doing behind the scenes is it generates you a main method, and then it goes looking for your other main method and goes, oh, okay, now that I found your other main method, I can see that you want an option of type int. I want its default value to be 42, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so then you don't have to do anything else. You just you create a strongly typed main, and you're done. And this is, in my opinion, is about as stupid simple as you can possibly make it. Now, the problem with this is it's a little limiting. Because it's simple, things like what I was doing here with the nested commands or subcommands is not possible. Dragonfruit will not do subcommands. It'll only do a root command with some options. So if all I wanted was this command with some options, it would be great for that. The moment you want to do subcommands, Dragonfruit just can't do it. So there's a couple other flavors that are being worked on that aim to have this level of simplicity but more power. And obviously the community is more than welcome to build anything that they want. But these are the types of things where people are likely to have opinions about how it should work. But if you're looking to build a stupid, simple command line app, Dragonfruit is awesome. I built a couple with it, and it is so nice. So nice. You write your main method, you include your NuGet package, and then you walk away. And there's nothing to think about. The other thing that it does is if you turn on XML comments, it will actually use these XML comments. If somebody does like -- help or -h on the end of it, it'll gen up the help output for you. So you can see the default help isn't great, but the moment you put these XML docs on it, it will now pull those in and read those for your output. So worth noting, these XML docs are then not necessarily XML docs that are targeted at programmers using your API, but generally programmers are, if you're producing something like this, programmers aren't invoking your main method, generally. And then all of this ends up just working. And there's a few other small convention things with like args and other things for getting passed in. Like, again, the idea that an option is optional. Sometimes this args can bring it in. So yeah, if you're looking for an easy way to get started, especially if you go to build a command line app, I've had some colleagues that had to build some CLI apps recently, and I was like, you can use any library you want as long as you pick System command line. I'm not picky. Once they were done laughing, they're like, okay, show me how this thing works. And so far, it's been a good experience each time. I don't know if any of my colleagues are in the chat to refute that, but probably not. As far as I can tell, it's been a good experience. Okay. So, but that is the library. That is what we are trying to get over to here. But the unfortunate part is this is a somewhat complicated CLI app. But I think going down this route is probably easy enough. Oh, right. We were going to get rid of the commas. So I want to match this. And I want to just pick the comma up outside of it. There, that'll work better. Boom. Okay, and then paste. And that just all worked. Perfect. Okay. Okay, we're going to leave that there because that's just a really useful thing. And then all of you need to get assigned. I think all of these are here. So let's grab this. Or no, you just grab this and come back. I think I still have this. Excellent. We're going to actually bring this in like this. Okay, so on this one, what we want to match, let's see. So S, some number of repetitions, var, space, and then we're going to go with not S, repeating, pick up the name, space equals space, and then I think we can just go end of line and pick up the rest of it. And then this will end up being, let's see, S underscore $1 equals $2, I think. It looks pretty close to right. Let me just double check. I'm noticing there's a slight disjoint here in the naming. Oy vey, oy vey, oy vey. Yeah, we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it because even though like sconfig is not quite gonna line up, we're gonna paste it and then we're gonna chase down whatever errors are left. This is going to go like this. This var additional is going to go away. This is going to change into this. Okay, and then obviously that's not right. Okay, so sconfig should end up being config switches. I think this is actually supposed to be config option. Yeah, whatever. We're gonna keep going. Actually, let's bring this one down since I think this one's obvious. Sconfig options. Define macros. Include names. Files, header file. Wow, the autocode is doing work. Include directories or included names. Let's go look. Names. Boom. Oh, I guess I could have figured out that was the included directory. Library path, namespace name, output location. Man, I wonder why that was. Huh. I wonder why that one got messed up. That may have been a typo. I am seriously shocked that this thing is just eating this alive. Boom. I am kind of happy that this thing is just auto-coding for me. It's almost like it could replace me. And the nice part is with all the analyzers that are turned on this project, if I miss something, I'm pretty sure it's going to yell at me. Okay, so that handled all of those. Great. Next, let's just grab all of these. We're going to take these, go back. We're going to do some more auto coding. Okay, so once again, we are going to match on this. We are going to grab, let's see, so rather than that, this is going to end up being S underscore, not S, something equals end of line. And so this will end up being $1, comma, I believe. Yep. Regex coding is so much fun. Boom. Oh, actually, I probably wanted to indent that. Let's go back and fix that indentation. So let's indent all of those like that. So undo, redo, copy, undo, paste. There we are. Clean that up. Oh, the first one's too far. Back you up. Okay, so that gets it all in there. That gets it all in there. Now all we have to do is come in here and pull these things back out. So, given our set of stuff here, should be able to copy this. That's a good question. How do I want to do this? Because I kind of want to keep this structure here. I'm almost going to need to just, well, let's do it like this. I think I actually want to keep most of these local variables. Hey, do you know how to use git bash? I need some help. I know enough to be dangerous. So, Genesis, feel free to drop your question in the chat, and I will do my best. I do tend to use a lot of my Git stuff from GitKraken, but I do know quite a bit of command line. Okay, so let's jump over here. Paste. And so we're going to go targeting default, literal paren, some number of characters, closing paren, and we're going to tell that to be as few characters as possible, semicolon, backslash, backslash. And I think what we want to do is just replace this with nada. Okay, so that gets me part of the way there. And then I think the next thing we want is we want to change that to get value for option. So we are going to match on value for option and replace with get value for option. Boom. Copy. And we are going to just front of the line. Paste. Okay, so that gets us part of the way there. Though we are going to now need to change all of these things to be their appropriate. S underscore config. Define macros. S underscore define macros. S underscore exclude. Files. File directory. Yes. S underscore header file. S underscore include names. Underscore include directories, s_language, library path, method class name, method prefix to script, namespace name, output location, output mode. Let's see, remap, name value pairs, standard. Not entirely sure what standard means in this case. Test output location, traversal names, with access specifier, name value pairs. Let's see. Kind of want you to collapse so I can see a little more. Let's see. With attribute name value pairs, with call convention name value pairs, with class name value pairs, with library path name value pairs, with manual imports, with namespace name value pairs, s_ with set last heirs, s_ with GC transitions. Let's see, with transparent struct name value pairs, with type name value pairs, with using name value pairs. Okay, so that should get all of that working. Drop that. It's just gonna be invocation context. You're gone. You're gone. You're cleaner. You're cleaner, and we're just gonna whack these things. Clean that up. Okay, so now most of this should be working aside from I think the help stuff that we left commented out. Okay, so we have a help builder. And normally this thing would come from this help context. So let's see, what is this thing doing? It's interesting. This thing is doing a help builder, but then just calling help builder write line. Did its write line used to do anything fancy? This was just shelling out. Okay, so we don't actually need the help builder here. We don't actually need the help builder. What we actually want here is just to write out some output. So we can do this. This is just going to be context dot console and do that. And then we don't need this help builder at all. That's a little easier. I think so. In case you missed it, Genesis, feel free to drop your question in the chat if you want. Happy to take a look. Okay. And then this is a bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff, bunch of stuff. So this was help builder write and write line, and this was passing in an option. So let's look here, because I think so this was calling write, passing a string. Just double check this, because this yeah, so this was just this write of an option wasn't doing much. It was a convenient way of writing out a thingy. So this just becomes an option. And this, I think, becomes a... Let's see, because that was looking to take in a command, but I don't think we actually want... I don't think we necessarily want any of those. Because this was literally just doing console out in both cases. I wonder how many... There's 3 references. Oh, and then these... Because... Let's see, what is this doing? That is option of string array. sconfig options. Oh, there was a config option and a config options. Oh boy. Oh boy. Did I make a mistake? There is a very real possibility I botched something. I wonder if I botched that. Might need to go back and look at that again, because that is a little different. But I once again don't think that we need the help builder for this. So this is looking to write out the root command, because this writing of the option isn't actually doing anything overly useful. It's just joining together all the aliases, tab character, description, new line character. This feels like something that should be an extension on iConsole rather than something on the help builder. We're gonna put that there, and then let's look at this one. So this one here is a similar situation, except for this one's looking to write. This one is spewing out a bunch of stuff and is looking to write that out. So, I mean, we can kind of cheat a little bit with this, because we do know I thought I saw a second. Yeah, there's an extension here. Where's this extension? Yeah, this is kind of what I want. Yeah, so let's go with that. So if I come back in here, do one of these maneuvers using, let's see, System.CommandLine A, B, C, D, F, G, H. And then we come down here, where that guy is. And then this becomes context dot console out. Oh, that's wanting a text writer though. That's gonna be, I've got a bit of a mismatch there now, don't I? Because that's the old one. What goes into the help context? Text writer output. How do we get down to this text writer? What? I'm missing something obvious here. How do you get down into that? What does your implementation look like? How do we get down to it? Let's see. Do you think there are async let's see. Do you think there are async commands attached to buttons in the application? There are a lot of them. Should such commands be all spam proof by default? User repeatedly clicks on the button, execution crash often. Do you protect your projects? Protection is a double check with semaphore is loading, wait async is loading. That's a very good question. So let me think, because I've run into this now on a couple projects and we've handled it in somewhat different ways. So if you put in protection, there are a couple ways to go about doing it, because sometimes, like the idea with like an is loading type situation is that assumes that you want all the clicks if those are relevant. Often what I have found is with a lot of UI events, if something's in progress, I don't actually care about those duplicate clicks. So the technical term is debounce. So if like multiple click come in, like for example, if it's like say a paging control and there's next and previous pages, if somebody mashes that next thing like a bunch of times, I probably don't care. I probably first click goes through, all subsequent clicks while loading is going end up just getting dropped. And oftentimes what I will use for that rather than like a semaphore is the interlocked class. So just watch, I'm gonna end up leaving this code in here and getting critiqued on it. So for example, private async task boo, right? So you've got a handler, looks kind of like this. Oh my word, they have a lot of rules in this project. Lacks and await task delay 1. And start messing up the data. Yeah, several threads enter the mess. So yeah, there's a couple ways to go about doing it. Your semaphore is one option. One of the ways that I like to do my debounce looks kind of like this. Is running. Right? So the only thing with things like semaphores and locking and similar is you can run into a situation where it is like that adds a little bit of overhead to do that locking and back and forth. And oftentimes you want button clicks running fairly quickly. So the thing to remember is with async methods, they are going, especially like click handlers, when you hit this very first opening curly brace, you're going to be on the UI thread because that came in from the button. So you will not be transitioning off of the UI thread until you hit your first await. So what you can do is something like this. Let's see, interlocked, boom. And then I will do something like compare exchange, ref is running. So did it? Yeah, that's kind of like exactly what I want. If protected by a semaphore, is it possible to push through it afterwards? Yes. So if you do something with like a semaphore slim where you do a wait async, what that will end up doing, so if you use a semaphore that has an initial and a max count of 1, That's basically the async version of the C# lock keyword. So you'll end up, if a bunch of threads come in, only one of them is going to be able to acquire that semaphore. And because there's only one possible allowed, only one gets to run, and then back through. If protected by a semaphore, can we then push through the cancellation token? You can send through a cancellation token to your you say semaphore, but I'm assuming the class that you're actually using, semaphore slim, which this is probably what you want rather than a full semaphore, especially if what you're looking for is just like async locking. It's a little bit lighter weight. It's not nearly as heavy as the full semaphore class. But this guy's, so you typically do something like initial max count, and then on here, semaphore slim, wait async, and then this guy has a cancellation token. Right? So you can pretend like this is backed by something useful if you want to cancel it. The thing with the cancellation token that you have to be careful with, though, is this will end up throwing an operation canceled exception or a task canceled exception, depending on the API. And so you will often want to trap that and throw it away. So oftentimes you will see code that ends up looking like this. Let's see. Specifically for that type of thing, do async stuff, and then somewhere down here you have a finally that looks something like semaphore slim release. So this kind of pattern is fairly common if what you're looking to do is an async operation and you want to ensure that only one ever gets through at a time. What are you squawking about? Make field, oh my word. Expression value is never used. I know it's never used. Wow. The analyzers on this project are really, really picky. That's good, but really picky. So something akin to this, it would be one way. The interlock compare exchange, I enjoy using as a way of debouncing if you don't care about every click. Because what you can do is interlocked exchange ref is running, and I need to make sure I didn't get these backwards. So it compares value. So it compares with 0, and if it is 0, replaces it with 1. Oh, so I want this to go back to 0. Oh, hush. So interlock compare exchange compares the current value with the comparand with 0. If it is 0, replaces with 1 and returns the first value of 0. So something like this, to do async work. This is another pattern that I use a lot for, and I always have to go back through the parameters for compare exchange because I can never keep them straight. But what this will do is, rather than having everyone block, if multiple clicks come through, this just drops them. And the interlock class, these methods on here are guaranteed atomic. So normally doing a comparison against a field, and then, okay, if that comparison is true, then do an assignment, that's normally multiple operations. Which means if multiple threads are coming into play, you have the issue of, well, I read the value, but then another thread changed it, and back and forth. That can be a mess. Because compare exchange is atomic, you can actually guarantee that no other thread is going to muck with is running between invocations, which is slick. Because now you can avoid doing any locking whatsoever, but guarantee that only one thread at a time gets inside of this. Now, it does mean that if one thread is busy running and a second one comes in, that second one that click gets dropped. But again, a lot of times I found that I don't know, that I don't actually care if multiple clicks get dropped. Is it okay to put a wait task delay in an asynchronous method since there is no other asynchronous code? So I would generally say no. So so a couple things. So task.delay of 0 is actually hard coded to be identical to await task completed task. So it depends on what you want the method to do when it hits the await. So a while back I did a stream on async and await stuff in WPF. The key thing to note is just because you hit an await keyword doesn't mean you're going to be on a different thread. Because, for example, when it hits like this task, await task, completed task, the TPL, it is expensive to switch to another thread and come back. That adds overhead. So there is an early exit, I guess, condition inside of this await that says, hey, if the task is already done, don't bother to do all of the thread switching. Just continue on synchronously. So even though this is an async method with an await here, ignore this up here. Even though this looks like an async method, this method will run synchronously. So if you do something like this, you will end up just running synchronously. Now, if your goal is to have an await and actually get it onto a background thread, an easier way to do it is task.yield. So this effectively says, okay, when I hit this, actually go through the asynchronous bits, shell off to another thread, register a callback. I'm going to give up my thread running and let someone else go, hence the yield. So it's like, I'm going to do something asynchronous. Trust me, I know this looks synchronous. I'll give up my thread, and I'll take the next one that's available. It may be the same one, it may be something different. This would be one way to push it. The other option is if you don't have any asynchronous code, but you still need it to look like an async method, another option is just drop the async altogether, because the async keyword is actually not part of your method signature. So you can drop the async keyword and then just write code inside of here as though this was a regular method. Now, what will probably end up needing to happen is at the end of the method, you're going to need to return a task. But the easiest thing to do is either just return task, completed task, or if you have like task of T, you can do return task from result. Like, for example, if this was a task of int, for example, you can end up just doing task from result. And then you can have a method that looks asynchronous, but if there is no asynchronous code in there, you don't actually need the async and you don't actually need the await. This is actually probably the solution that you want to use. When you put the async keyword on your method, that actually tells the compiler, okay, rewrite this method to have this fancy state machine inside of it so that it can do all of the asynchrony bits. Well, that state machine adds a little bit of overhead. So if you aren't doing any asynchronous stuff, it's usually better to just drop the async keyword and just return a task directly. Depends on what you're doing, but generally, if you don't need the async keyword, I would tell you drop it and just either return task completed task or task from result, depending on whether you need a return value or not. Those are probably your better options. Okay. Something help output. No problem, Justin Bieber. Right, I was trying to figure out how the heck System.CommandLine actually did its help output. So, help builder. So question, are you planning to port the material design toolkit to .NET MAUI? So that's a bit of a loaded question. So on one hand, the answer is no. On the other hand, the answer is kind of. So because MAUI can target multiple platforms, it's not overly useful for me to port the toolkit for the mobile side of things, for iOS and Android, because Xamarin already has their, what do they call it, the visuals that you can specify in your XAML for that to give you a material design look and feel. So at least in terms of if you're just looking to get the material design look into your app, the Xamarin stuff, and by virtue Maui, has a lot of it there. Now, there's not 100% overlap between the two. There's like extra controls that are in the material design toolkit that aren't in Maui, and they've done some changes that may not match, and back and forth. So there's a little bit there. The part that is sort of yes is I'm very much interested in potentially pursuing a port for WinUI 3, which is the desktop head of the desktop head of Maui. So that I am interested in doing. The hard part is WinUI 3 is kind of dragging a little bit in getting released. I forget, I think they're up to like RC3, RC4, something like that at this point. So it's getting close. And this is once again Microsoft saying, yes, this is going to be the next big desktop platform. So I'm dragging my feet a little bit because it's a big investment of time, and I'd kind of like to be sure of adoption before I jump on that. But I mean, there's the catch-22. If you don't do it, will there be adoption? And if you're waiting for adoption to do it, you get the little bit of back and forth. So part of me is wanting to do it too, as a way of making sure I learn WinUI 3. Like to have a consistent UI across platforms and the same code base. So yes. And if you are looking for a consistent UI across all platforms, so it's a little bit of a catch-22 there as well. So the visual is part of Xamarin's way of getting you that common UI, except for, and I'm hesitant to say, so common and consistent UI aren't always necessarily the same thing. Sometimes people want a consistent UI that has native controls. So for example, a checkbox on Windows, the toggle on iOS, and the little like slide toggle thing on Android, right? Those are functionally the same control, but they look very different on the different platforms. And so that is, when I hear consistent UI, that's often what I end up thinking of. But it sounds a little bit like potentially you're looking for common UI across all platforms. The other thing that may be interesting to look at is the Uno platform. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They adopt a slightly different approach as well. They are a little different than this guy. So this the Uno platform very much adopts the idea of a common UI across all platforms, which is pretty nice in a lot of cases. You write it, it wants the same look and feel across all platforms with the own code base. Yes. Yeah, so common UI, definitely. I would tell you to potentially take a look at the Uno platform, because even on Maui, even if everything were ported, you won't end up getting a common UI in most cases. And that comes down to a little bit of the philosophical differences between the Xamarin approach of being able to have a native control in both cases versus a common UI look and feel. So yeah, and I've heard it, so thank you. I appreciate the feedback on the toolkit. Currently, it's just WPF. It would be, every additional platform would be a massive undertaking because they are all very different in how they do the rendering. But like I said, the WinUI 3 is the one that I think I'm most likely to jump on next, probably. It does also add a huge maintenance cost because now you're maintaining a code base for multiple platforms, and there's not exactly shared logic between them, even though it's all XAML. Like there's different versions of XAML between them. So WPF is stuck on ye olde version of XAML, whereas like Uno and WinUI 3 are on newer version of XAML that has things like Xbind and generics and all kinds of other happy stuff. So, not to say it's bad, but I would probably tell you to check out the Uno platform, especially if that common UI is what you're going for. It will probably get you a lot closer, because then you can have one code base. They also let you target a large number of things beyond that, so you can compile for like web and whatnot. Whereas Maui's target outputs they don't necessarily compile for web, they go the other direction. So right now Blazor's the new hot idea, and they do have Blazor controls where you can write your UI as Blazor and then pull that into all of the other platforms. Can we ever see you do a code review on the stream? Maybe a .NET WPF? We could probably do that. I've done a couple code review ones of like pull requests for the material design library, and a few others. It would be interesting to pull some of those. It's unfortunate because some of my more interesting code reviews I do for my job, and unfortunately those are generally not on repositories that I'm allowed to share. So most of the projects I'm working on at the moment are not open source, which is a little bit of an interesting thing. Doing an interview, though, we could probably arrange that. I had actually talked to a colleague about doing that, only having me be on the receiving end of it. And unfortunately, it ended up taking another job, and that idea kind of fell flat at that point. Yeah, my only concern with Blazor is that you need an underlying browser supporting latest technologies instead with native UI. The requirements are lower. Yes. Those are very, very valid concerns. I also am a little bit holding on. I'm waiting to see how good Blazor gets. It's pretty good now. I have some colleagues working with it that have expressed concerns that it's really great as long as you stay on the well-worn paths, and that the moment you get into some creative edge cases, things get really hard really fast. Specifically when what you want to do is like bind to a native JavaScript thingy and build that out, is where they started to run into some fun errors. So yeah, I definitely can understand the idea of going in. I don't know what Uno's minimum platform requirements are. I think it's been a while since I looked at it, but when I looked at it before, they went back quite a ways. I don't know how it would compare to Maui. It says using. Oh, interesting. So in theory, it's already GA, but I may be wrong. I will take another look then. It's very possible it GA'd and I just missed it. That is very possible. Oh, thank you for the link. Yeah, and I will call out for anybody who gets confused. If you're looking up docs, there was WinUI, WinUI 2, and then WinUI 3. The relationship between WinUI 2 and WinUI 3 stops after the words WinUI. WinUI 3 is a brand new thing. Even though they revved one number, it is very different than WinUI 2. Cool. I would say it looks like you are correct. Sweet. I may take another rev at this. There is a there's a stream I did months ago on WinUI where I ended up, sorry, one second, where I ended up porting a small portion of the library. And by small portion, I mean I got the ripple control working. So, but that's at least in terms of the material design and XAML toolkit, that is a control that gets used everywhere. But I got the ripple control working on WinUI 3 along with Maui, but I have to search the link because I don't remember where I read it. That could be what I was mixing up, is the 1.1 release with Maui of that not being ready yet. It's possible. It is very possible, because I know, so potentially working on a WinUI 3 port of the material design library, that is something that is on my roadmap and radar to at least investigate how painful it's going to be. And my thought was to like port the button in like the regular text box control and just see how hard that is, and if it's easy, keep running and see how far I get before I trip. Okay, I wanted to figure out this guy here. Where do you get invoked from? Not a lot of places. Where? 77 references. That's a lot. Help builder right. I'm confused. How is console? And just a curiosity, made you create the tool investment? So that is a somewhat minor misconception. I am not actually the original creator. So back, don't worry about it. I enjoy questions and rabbit trails. So back, has it been 4 years? I think it's been 4, maybe 5 years. I'm counting backwards now. I think it's only been 4. I think this is year 4 that I'm on now. The original creator of it, James Wilcox, he was getting burned out on a lot of the open source work. I had just recently picked up the library, and for fun, because I was using it on a project in my spare time, I was just going through the backlog, clearing out issues, submitting pull requests, getting things fixed. And he approached me and asked if I was interested in taking over maintaining it, because he was burned out, didn't have time, and didn't want to see the project die. And I was like, sure, sounds like fun. I'm enjoying this. Let's do it. And so I took over as maintainer and have been running with it ever since and building it out. So a lot of people think that it's my library and that I created it just because I've been the active maintainer on it. I've started to look for people who are interested in helping out on it as well. Anybody who I've started to see putting in effort, I've often approached about potentially seeing if they want to have somewhat increased access to the repository. I usually go slow. I don't want to sacrifice quality on it. But especially if I see people going through and like reviewing backlog issues, it's like, if you want permission to go through and close out old issues that are no longer bugs and that kind of thing, I like, as a maintainers love help. Like, if you want to make a maintainer's day, offer to help. They will love you for it. And so people who are interested in helping out on that kind of thing, I've been loving getting it. So it seems like every so often there's a rise and a few people jump on, and I just get tons of contributions from a handful of people, and then usually they drift off, and then a little later it's a few other people. But that's sort of the history of it. So I invest so much time in it because I fell in love with WPF in one of my first jobs, and XAML in general. So I do it as a fun project because I think WPF and XAML is awesome and fun. It's also a somewhat secure I shouldn't say secure. It's an unusual skill set. Like my job, I work. Okay, shameless self-promotion time. So I work for a company called Intelitech. We are I believe the official term is a professional services company. We're consultants in a lot of cases. Sometimes we do like staff aug and that kind of thing to go in and help teams that need it. But what we've run into is there's not a huge demand for WPF. Like people who do web development, ASP.NET Core, that kind of thing, like tons of work, tons and tons of work. But people with that skill set are also a dime a dozen. They're easy to find. People with a WPF skill set, not as much demand for it, but man, finding good people who are skilled in WPF is hard. It's really hard. So when those types of things come around, we often spend a great deal of time trying to find people. And so I'm usually one of the ones teaching people and doing WPF and MVVM and XAML related work. So when that crops up, as soon as somebody says WPF, usually fingers start getting pointed at me. It's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But I really do enjoy XAML and WPF. And I enjoy Maui. I've been playing with it a little bit. I've started to enjoy Blazor a little bit too. I'm not a huge web developer. I know I need to learn it, but it's also been one of those, because there are so many people that do it, it's never been a big deal. If I ever need web help, I've got a lot of smart colleagues. I've got a lot of smart people I work with. Okay, help context. I wanted to see how you got created. Help builder extensions. With WPF rather than with Blazor. Yes, I can agree. I like XAML for layout. I really do. That is not a useful. I want to see what is not tests. That's still a test. That's still a test. So this entire method is only used by, oh, I guess it's in tests. Okay, so let's not do that one. And this one isn't used anywhere. I think that one was a shim, if I remember correctly. And then this is... Ah, ha, 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 ha. That's the magical incantation. Console out, create text writer. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Got it. Text writer that writes to standard stream writer. Well, I don't think you can get much cleaner of a name than that. That's pretty obvious what that class does. Okay. Got it. So there's an extension method on that guy that lets me shell into it. Okay. Okay. So boom, boom. Problem solved. Okay. That works. Okay, so this one here, there were two things. We had option and options. I needed to figure out what was going on there. But in both cases, this help builder's write wasn't doing much. I just want to confirm that I didn't change this. 582 to 584. So let's go here. Boom. Let's see. Program. 582. Oh, I need 582 on this side. Will there ever be a WPF dispatcher stream? Ooh. I guess there could be. Curious what you'd be interested in learning on that one, Justin Bieber. I've touched on dispatcher at various points. I just don't know if there's enough to do a whole stream on it. I mean, I could dive very deep into like the synchronization context and start going through threading in that way, and that will be a fun rabbit hole. Okay, so this was just help builder write. So this was legitimately just shelling out to the custom help builder write, which had an overload on option that was going to match on all of them. So this wasn't doing anything special at all. There wasn't, so there's not some fancy overload or any of that jazz. So none of this actually really matters. So what we kind of want instead, let's see, a kind of educational stream for everyone. Dispatches, priority, tricks, deep themes. Okay, I can see that. 1 second. I gotta go grab my Word document. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Wrong thing. Let's see if I can spell. And then boom. I'm just going to copy your chat messages right into my Word document. Boom. Okay. Cool. Added it to my list of, because I keep a running Word document of stream ideas people have suggested, and then when I am questioning what I'm going to stream one day, I usually just dive in and take a look at it. I think we're going to call this something like write option. And then this just becomes console write line. And then this is probably write option. And then I think I just need to go and figure out why I have this weird option and options thingy going on. And then we don't need the help builder again. Okay, because it looked like the help builder was used in a couple situations where it really didn't need to be there. What is your problem? Oh, console, it's probably out. Let's see. Ooh, sorry for another incident. Oh, excellent. Build upon the 1.0 release. So, yep. That, cool. I'm saving that one too. Thank you. Okay, so I do want to do a standard stream writer extension method. This one was just put onto here, but I think what we're going to go with is internal sealed static class console. Is there extensions? Some people have. I never know what to name my extension method classes, and some people will use like extensions. Some people will use mixin. Extensions. Looks like extensions might be the. We're gonna go with it. Actually, we can hunt for a. Move this onto the right monitor. I do a paren this space. That will tell me if there's other extension methods. There's one inside of that decal. I use the name of the class plus extensions. Yeah, that's a fairly common one to do. Oh, span extensions. Okay, good. So it is extensions is the console extensions. I just want to try it. I try to make it obvious for people. What is your problem here? Modifiers are not ordered. Fine, order them. So public static I really want to do this method. Boom. Void write option, and I want to get rid of this, and then I want this to be whatever that out argument type is, the standard stream something or another, that guy. So just call this thing writer option, and then this will be writer there. What is your problem now? Cannot. Okay, fine. Yeah, I've seen the EX one too. Oftentimes I find that people run a muck of, some people will put coding guidelines about avoiding things that aren't well-known acronyms. The problem is then you get to debate what the definition of well-known acronym is. Okay, so there's that. That works. Now the question is this sconfig option versus options. Yeah, and I think to some degree those naming rules do come down a little bit to what you're building. Okay, so there was an sconfig option. Oh, sconfig option. Oh, this was the help options. And this was writing out all of these. Got it. Got it. Okay, so that's what all of those were. So that needs to actually... Boy, I'm trying to decide if that should be there. That's a very much a hard-coded list. Let's go up and look at that list real quick, because that feels like something we could just leverage the existing one for. Yeah. So this is specifically showing help and usage for config. Or this is almost like it's trying... I should probably keep it similar. I think you're well known. Thank you. I don't know if I'm that well known. But I appreciate the compliment. Assuming that was directed to me. Okay, because the problem is the help item got eliminated. That was calling into here, which was doing a right line of options and a render as columns. So I believe this guy still has a right columns, 2-column help row. Boy, this feels like, okay, so where I've now eliminated almost all of the help building stuff. This because this is going to end up doing the same thing. I almost want to... just print config help. Where do you get set to? Config switches. Where are you pulling config switches from? What is this? Where do you come from? This is literally just pulling off of the config option. The config option gets built up from that add config option. Interesting. So this is the -C. For each of the config switch. Oh, so it's checking the values passed into the... Oh, I see what it's doing. Oh, interesting. So this is taking the argument passed to the -C option, and it's allowing you to pass in a whole lot of stuff. That's why the generic help builder is not useful here. But I do think in this case, maybe this right option should live back on this builder. Let's get rid of you. Let's move you back down. So let's go into here. Okay, so let's actually steal that back. You, come here. Come here. I'm gonna put you back. We're gonna get rid of you. The problem being that you won't have a... I do still need to take in the standard stream writer, because without it, without invoking help the normal way, I have no way of knowing where this needs to go to. So we are going to need you to take that in. I guess the other thing we could do is we could just have this thing, because we changed it to no longer take in the... It used to take in the console. Maybe we just put that back, because we're going to end up using this. We've eliminated the places where it doesn't need it. It's just that now we have, because the base one doesn't contain it, we have to hold on to it. And then that means this can, it doesn't need to think about it. This guy can handle it. Console out. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Okay. And then this we can redo. I guess what we could do is we could actually downgrade this back to right. Actually, here, let's do this. Make it match. We'll try to make it match what it originally was. So this will then become console out. Oh, I guess that's what this was intended to be too, wasn't it? Oh, I kind of get it now. These were just helper methods around that, so that you could do this kind of thing. And I guess we could add in, because a couple of these, I'm gonna make them private for now. I kind of don't want this arbitrarily used, but there. That makes that a little easier. Okay, so we need to implement this. We can now do this, and then this is not render as columns. This is a 2-column layout or something like that. What was it called? Right columns. It's interesting that this wants a help context. What is it? Please tell me it's not just using the context for the console, because that would be annoying. Where's the context used? It's just legitimately using it for the output. Dang it. Dang it. Okay. So one, I'm going to leave myself a note that this needs a PR. Because, where's that right 2-column? This really should be text writer, is all this needs to be. and then this can be output. And then this comes, let's see, there. This is obviously going to break everything, but this is what this should be. No reason to make it more complicated than it needs to be. That way it's more easily consumable by others. Okay. That doesn't fix my current problem, so we're going to ignore it. But I do want this to be a 2-column help row. 2-column help row, and this is, if I remember right, a fairly simplistic POCO. So for people who don't know the name POCO, P-O-C-O, a plain old C# object. Okay, so 2-column help row, first column, second column. It's a pretty simple object. Okay, so what that means over here, what we want to do is we want to replace help item with 2-column help row. Replace all. And that should uncomment now and not suck. Okay, so that is all of those. That goes like that, that goes like that, that goes like that. Let's see, we're going to go with context console. Let's see. That goes like that, that goes like that. This just becomes context.console. Goes like that, that goes like that. Great, great, great. That works, that works. Probably don't care about that override. Guess I already had that one, didn't I? Boom. We need that. Okay, so this then becomes items, new help context. This null, let's see, console out, create text writer. And then we don't need that. Let's see, this becomes help items. That drops, that drops. Okay, and I want to make sure that that help context isn't going to be great. It's see, it requires a command, but the method only is going to be used in the text writer. It's a grumble, 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 grumble. I very well am responsible for this. What's the easiest way around this? You know what? Let's see, var unused gets new command. Actually, we could probably, let's just discard that. Nope, nope. Why are you, oh, because I'm missing a semicolon there. Okay, that probably works now. That, well, it compiles. And then, hang on, why are we using console write line? Don't we have the context at this point? Okay, we're just gonna replace all of these guys real quick. Boom. So it's not gonna make a big difference here. Write line. Oh, interesting. There's now a write line overload with an empty. It will make a big difference here, but the advantage of using the console from System Command Line means that you are able to theoretically mock it or put in a test implementation. Inside of the actual shipping library of System Command Line, there is even a test console in the main project. So even though this would commonly be used for testing, this is something that's actually just in the main project. So there is a test console, which another name for it could be like an in-memory test console that just records things into string builders. So if you want a version of iConsole that just writes into a string, it's in the box. We use it in System Command Line for testing. I've seen a handful of people use it for other things too. So sometimes test classes are worth it. Let's see, what is you? Manually call to string on that guy. There, that gets rid of capital console right line. I would like you to be not regex and case sensitive. And with white space before you. Okay, got him. Got him. Got him, got him, got him. Okay, so take a look at this. This file we don't need anymore, so it goes away. We don't actually need the launch settings. That's just for testing. We changed up this guy. So key changes, we added, or we created a new iConsole property since the base class no longer used it, and we changed our signature to take in localization resources and forward them down to the base. We changed this thing from help item, since help item was deleted, to 2-column help row. We have that ugly thing that we had to create for stupid reasons for the help context. And then let's see. So here is where we made a ton of changes. So we cached all of the options. We converted these to 2-column help rows. We have a ton of option creations assigned into here. So, yo, bro, struggling with JavaScript. Any tips? Ooh, boy. I am not your strongest JavaScript developer. Happy to help and answer questions, but I don't know if I'm necessarily the best person with tips for you. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I do a little web development and whatnot, and so I'm more than dangerous with it. Like I said, happy to answer questions if you want to throw something towards me. I think at this point, though, because we did this, we can actually probably abandon these. So let's discard that. Discard. Okay, the return type from int goes away. These get value for options. We can actually kill the type parameter on most of those. This just became a console write line rather than doing anything fancy. No need for a help builder if we don't need it. Okay. Let's see. There's no reason this shouldn't just be called edit file. Oh, not what I wanted. Grumble, grumble, get cracking. Grumble, grumble. When I hit edit, I want you to maintain my cursor position. 577. G577. Boom. So this was previously called help builder. So we want to go 577. Okay, so this was previously called help builder. We'll keep it called that. This one probably makes sense to go back to a help builder write line. Discard. Okay, so this changed into just passing the localization resources and setting the exit code. Same thing here, added in localization resources as a constructor argument called write using the console. And then exit code there. And then switched all of these console write lines down to using the iConsole. Oh, we need to delete all of this. See, I told you I was going to leave it in. Let's see, G748. All of this stuff has nothing to do with this library. Get rid of all that. Let's see, 745. Okay, so that's fine. And then we get down into here. I think I want to replace all of these things from add methods and call them like gets. I don't know if get's the right word. Create. Build. I need a dictionary with verbs. I need a programmer's dictionary because all of these ones, the only ones that were weird was this. That's version option. Only create. It was weird, this null check. And actually, that is incorrect. 1039. I do not want you assigning here. That will overwrite the assignment. Okay, so let's go up and let's rename some of these things. So actually, let's just start at the top. We'll go with get because that's what my Mountain Dew brain says right now is get. For better or worse. Go there. Get. Get. IntelliCode, are you going to figure this out anytime soon? You impressed me earlier. Come on, IntelliCode, figure out the pattern that I'm doing. All add methods are being renamed to get. That should be a clue. Get. Oh, wrong keystroke. Missed the key. Okay. Get. And okay, there. Get. Okay, cool. Okay, so getting up the usings. I think let's test with like because that should gen the help output. So people not familiar, the double hyphen is a way of escaping the command line from .NET Run to tell .NET that everything after it should be fed to the actual project and not to and not as part of the .NET Run command. Framework, and I don't remember what this thing's targeting. Net 6. So I expect to get the help output. Version was already added. So that's not good. Program 196. So thank you, Mr. Kevin. Good night. Good night. See you tomorrow, Bruce. Let's see. Get version. So what is it? What is it complaining about here? So parser, parse, tokenize an item with the same key has already been added. Key dash dash version. Did it end up doing? Oh, is this under the hood using the defaults? Bet you it is. Oh, I bet you it is. Getter create default simple parser. I bet you under the hood that is a. I bet you this is doing a very simplistic. Yeah. I bet you are. I bet you. I have a strong suspicion I know exactly what you're doing. Command line builder, use defaults. Well, doesn't that just bite? Because this guy here is assuredly the problem child. Because of that use defaults, and here I can just show what I intrinsically know under the hood. So this uses command line builder, use defaults, and so it is adding in all of these. And I don't think we want all of these. Specifically, we don't want help. We don't want version. Okay, so I think the workaround for this is to just not use. Yeah, we're gonna go back to the. We're gonna do this maneuver. So let's go back to this guy. Rather than just straight up invoke, we're going to do this. And then we are going to do s_root command var parser. And then I don't actually want all of those thingies. I want parser. And I don't think I want to do use defaults. I think we want to actually strip out some of the defaults. So specifically, we don't want version, we don't want help. But I don't see why we wouldn't want the rest of that. We're going to not use defaults, but we are going to turn on the rest of the stuffs. So this is part of how System.CommandLine ends up giving you a lot of those magical things. When you go through the default invoke async, it was doing this this builder. It was adding all of this stuff into it, like the register with .NET Suggest for the tab completion, the typo correction, the parse error reporting, the exception handler, handling cancel on like the Control C, for process termination, variable directives, all that jazz. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Progress. An alias cannot be null, empty, or consist entirely of white space. Let's see. Custom help builder. This constructor. Excellent. Excellent. Another reason. Unused. Knock it off. I really don't like that instance. Hey, look at that. That looks remarkably better. I'm going to back this out a little just so I can see it. But that looks like what I would expect. We can check it against the... No, not that one. This. So, Oh, I think we actually do want to include help because it looks like use help. It looks like that is actually adding in. So there's a small but important difference between that and that. Yeah. I think that is expected. Just looking at the usage here. As you can see, the default help builder dropped the options. Yeah, that's a little yucky. It's a little yucky. But it works. Okay, well, let's clean these up. Simplify name in document. Yeah, apply. Okay, let's just quick review this one more time, and then I think I'm going to PR it. There's probably going to be some back and forth on this. I will be a little shocked if it gets merged wholesale. Okay, so we do want that. We do want the custom help builder. We do want the directory build targets. Updating to use the latest System.CommandLine. So commit changes. Oops, I did that on main. Oopsie, creep branch. Let's go with System.CommandLine upgrade. A little weird to have a cap, so we'll do that. And then let's push this branch, and then if I do, well, I don't have the remote, so I can't actually start the PR, can I? At least not from here. That's okay. We'll do it on GitHub. Let's see. To keep the structure similar to what there previously, some notable differences. One, had to update to using the, let's see, where is that? Where is the builder? Using the directly because calling command invoke with an option that matched the version caused an error with a duplicate symbol. The default value on the help output for most of the items is now showing as or it was default blah. Let's see. The 2-column rendering in the help builder required creating a help context. This API could be improved in CommandLine to make this easier. Something like that. Okay. Ship it. We're going to roll it. Okay. Well, with that, I'm at like 3 hours and something going on here. And my Mountain Dew is empty, which is an indication I should probably stop. So, with that, I will say thank you for everyone coming and hanging out. It's been good. I think my setup is actually working again, so huzzah. Great. Hopefully I'll see everyone next time. I do appreciate the suggestions and all of the questions from people. Like I said before, I definitely don't mind rabbit trailing off onto other questions and different things if that's what is interesting to people. So with that, happy coding. I'll see everyone next time.